Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Film Family. Thank you for tuning in. Today, we're going to be talking about the new movie Dr. Sleep, which is the sequel to The Shining.
Yeah, so, I think to make a sequel to a movie like The Shining is a task that is almost impossible. The Shining is like a modern horror masterpiece, and people it's one of those movies that you never thought would get a sequel, sort of like Blade Runner. But for this movie to kind of exist is sort of, I guess I'll just say, a difficult task to make. But I think this movie really accomplishes a lot of the things it's looking to do. Despite, a couple of flaws that I think are kind of present, I really did like just kind of what this movie had to offer on like kind of as a movie, but also as a sequel to The Shining. Because I think it does both, but it does one better than the other. And I'll discuss that a little later.
I agree. I mean, I think this movie was... It's difficult to follow The Shining because I already gave my review on it. Like, I forgot, did I give it a 7?
You gave it 8.5.
An 8.5? Okay, well, that's actually better than I thought I gave it. But I have more respect for The Shining after seeing part 2 because I think it helps like make the story a little more clear for me. But I've been comparing it, like since I've seen it, I've been comparing it to if The Shining is Lincoln with Daniel Day-Lewis, then this is Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. And I actually feel like it's almost the same people that did it because it looks lit similarly, shot similarly. It's a more entertaining version, okay? It's more.
I've never seen that movie.
It's more. Oh, you should. It's super funny, especially after seeing Lincoln. But it's definitely more entertaining. It's not more action wise, I would say, but it's a quicker paced story for me.
Yeah. Well, they're both, I think, almost exactly the same runtime, 2.5 hours, and they're paced a little different. I mean, they're different. Here's the thing: when you watch this movie, I was actually impressed because it felt it had a little bit of The Shining's vibe. There's a lot of silence, but it's controlled silence, and it's kind of building up to something. And I think like Mike Flanagan, who wrote this movie, directed this movie, and edited this movie, bravo to him. That probably took a long time to just make this thing even exist. But like, I think he really wanted to give it that vibe at the beginning, like, okay, well, we're going to do The Shining, and you know what happens to The Shining, here's what goes on after, and then it kind of does this jump cut, and it still has the vibe of The Shining of this silence. It's just not the same movie, but it has a lot of its qualities, which I thought was a good choice on his behalf.
Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed this movie. I think it really had an impossible task because it was following up a horror classic with The Shining, but also it was it had to stay kind of faithful to a book, a sequel, that Stephen King wrote.
I mean, it's tough because the first movie's so unfaithful.
I thought this one was based off of a book though too.
Yeah,
that's
Stephen
what he
King
was saying.
wrote a sequel.
Yeah,
right?
but Stephen King didn't like. Stephen King didn't like the way that that Kubrick did The Shining. So he wasn't happy with it. So it's like, which master do you serve?
Yeah, exactly. The movie was struggling because it was like, well, and the movie kind of has to adhere to the movie because it's a movie to the movie. So it's not gonna be like, all right, well, we're just gonna completely retcon, because a big theme, I guess, I've never read the book, but I guess the big theme is like the alcoholism. It's just like a different book than the movie. And so for this, movie to kind of be a sequel to that, then they have to be like, well, we have to take some elements from the book, clearly, from a narrative standpoint, but what are we going to take on, like, a level of like how much of this book is going to be injected into this movie and how much of the Shining is going to be. So I think it was another tough task for the movie to have. Plus, any sequel to a movie directed by somebody as like crazy as Stanley Kubrick is not, that dude is a very, kind of controlled perfectionist. So I'm sure it was, a difficult task to even make this movie.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I would first want to say that, I really enjoyed the characters in this movie because I didn't have any. I mean, I knew Danny was, Ewan McGregor was playing the older Danny, and I remembered who Danny was because they also showed kind of who Danny was. But I was very interested in certain characters, and certain characters, I thought that some of the, I guess the group that was hunting him, they were kind of throwaways, but I liked Rebecca Ferguson, her character. She was really good in it because she was very menacing when she had to be menacing, and not menacing, and sweet when she, had to seduce someone or whatever. But I was very impressed. Ewan McGregor never surprises me though.
Yeah.
Like
well, I think I'm very happy to say that he's making a comeback, and not that like he fell off, but his career after
unappreciated.
Star Wars, it's difficult to match that level. It's Star Wars, and for him to kind of be in like Christopher Robin now this, and he's in the Birds of Prey movie, like he's making, and we got the Obi-Wan series. I really think he's showing people like, listen, I'm not just Obi-Wan, even though I am still Obi-Wan. Like and I really appreciate when an actor can do that. And his to do an American accent when you have a thick accent like Ewan McGregor is not easy, and he does a pretty solid American accent. There's a couple times when he'll say like, you know, a certain vowel where you're like, I heard that, but he did a really good job. He was probably my favorite part of the movie.
I didn't know that this movie was a sequel until I was watching it, and then I was like, the kid looks like Danny from the movie, and the mom kind of did, but like it really didn't. You know? And I think it was actually just the haircuts because they had them like exactly the same.
Yeah, their faces didn't look.
You know, and that's where it kind of threw me off a little bit. I didn't like that. Another thing I didn't like where they tried to bring in the old movie was the Jack Nicholson impersonator. That was dishonoring to the movie, in my opinion. Like, come on, he could have looked a little bit older. Will Smith just got a movie completely younger, and you can't do it for one scene for Jack Nicholson. This guy looked like he came off of Hollywood Boulevard. He was drunk and was like, "Hey, I'm the guy from The Shining." Like,
but Jack Nicholson's retired, so I mean, you know.
But come on, you can come out for like this was your movie, you know what I mean? Like everybody knows here's John.
But I mean, I get that. When he was like playing Lloyd, I was like, Jesus, guy. And besides the hair, he looks like nothing. I mean, Jack Nicholson is a unique face and voice, so it's tough to do. He did sound sort of like an impersonator. I was saying to Taj though, I appreciate the fact because in the 80s and 90s and 2000s even, like before de-aging was so popular, they would to play a character from a different age than they were in the original movie. They would just get actors. And they did that in this movie instead of like de-aging or like, you know, up, you know, kind of re-aging or whatever it's called, you know, Shelley Duvall or the kid Danny from the original movie. But instead they just got actors, which is something I appreciate because I think de-aging has almost gotten, like I've almost gotten tired of it at this point.
But I would have done the Jack Nicholson shot. Maybe just showing the hair, not showing the face. Like if you're not going to get Jack Nicholson, don't show the guy's face. He didn't look like him.
I see what you're saying.
Like,
you're saying if you can't make it look
over the shoulder shot,
creative with it, something. You know, like
they could have easily done it over the
like
shoulder.
That,
They should have just I mean, I think they wanted the exact because when they get to the hotel, there's some shots that are straight up taken from The Shining. Like when the movie comes out on Blu-ray, I'm sure there will be some YouTube videos like showing the exact ones, but there's like at least 5. Like they even did that helicopter pan. From the beginning, which I love that they did with the Shining music. That scene gave me the chills. But like,
was that a helicopter or was it a crane?
I mean, it might have been a crane. I think it was maybe a helicopter.
I remember where it starts from above the trees.
They did the trees, and they also did the road one too.
Yeah,
I
would say
the original movie was a
helicopter.
helicopter, but it was probably a helicopter in this.
Because or really, well, they do have really big cranes. But
I mean, that's a tough crane shot to shoot though, because it's like angling. But I mean, I don't know. But when they went to the Overlook Hotel, I thought like. It was maybe a little too... I mean, there's a couple parts of this movie. I think it could have been paced a little faster. But I think that was Mike Flanagan's choice in this movie to make it similar to the original Shining with the slow pacing. Because this movie also reminded me a lot, actually, of Blade Runner. Interesting enough, they're both, you know, sequels to very older movies. And, you know, in terms of their slow pacing and sort of just the use of silence. Because the movie is definitely quiet a lot. And, you know, besides the fact that there is a plot going on with these... You know, people trying to steal like The Shining from whatever. I thought it was the steam. I thought like the movie was pretty slow, but for the most part, it didn't really bother me. I did also see this movie when I was extremely tired. Taj knows, so it was difficult for me to stay up in, but I stayed up through the whole thing. So
what do you guys think about the young actress, the one that played the lead, Kylie McGregor is her name?
I thought she was actually really good. I thought there was maybe like a couple lines I was like, okay, you know, it's a kid acting, but for the most part, like. Kid actors seem to be getting worse, and when I see somebody who's a kid actor do a really good job, I'm always happy because, like I don't know, I guess kids just got worse at acting, but she's really good in this movie.
Yeah, she had a lot on her shoulders if you think about it, like because
she's sort of playing this like chosen one character, you know, and she has to like kind of have this chemistry with Ewan McGregor instantly, and just to kind of like have this like weird sense about her, sort of like Danny does in the original movie. And so it's kind of, I think it was, like you said, it was a tall order, but she did a really good job.
Because I mean, also she had to go through different ranges, like of being strong and not scared, and then also being terrified at times, you know?
Okay. The scene, though, and it wasn't even a bad scene, but when they're in the forest with the hunting rifles, I don't know why, but I just kept laughing.
You did. You laughed at. I laughed your laugh, but
it was just funny.
It was just it seemed out of left
field.
Get
like shot by these deer rifles, and I was just like, what? And then she was like, kill yourself, but he killed it. I just thought that scene was kind of weird. I don't know. There was something about it that.
Well, I think because we're in like a mystical world of like like of steam
and
then all of a sudden
instantly killing. That's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah.
I mean, but like also, who trained Danny to be this good of a shot with the deer rifle? I mean, that's probably not easy.
Headshots, man.
Danny was killing him. I mean, yeah, that was interesting, I guess, to see that. But like I said, like the pace of this movie is definitely slow. It's deliberately slow, but I think like there was some cool callback. I mean, I like that one scene in the interview room where Jack gets interviewed in the original movie, and he's having like I think the same paintings behind him too. But that was I mean, there's a lot of callbacks. You can tell Mike Flanagan was like a fan of The Shining.
Even when Ewan McGregor put his face in the door.
Yeah, that was like that was cool though. Yeah, I think it was just like a good callback, but also a movie that made itself seem worthy and also made itself seem plausible, because sometimes sequels happen and you're like, why is this happening? Does this even need to happen? Sort of like the new Terminator.
Needed to happen.
Yeah, I think it was a good sequel, and it came out a long, like 29 years after, but it was a good. I'm glad. Oh no, sorry, 39 years after. But it was a good, kind of worthy predecessor, or worthy to its predecessor, and I thought it was a movie that I was glad that happened for the most part.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it and going, "Is this really needed?" But I'm happy that it did come out, and I'm happy that I saw it. So
I like how it explained more of the world, I guess, of the people with the shining or the steam. But I didn't like that it jumped from so many different states in the beginning. Like it kept going from different things, and I almost didn't know where I was and why.
Yeah.
We were
I think
I
think that was sort of intentional too, though, just to show how much Danny was like kind of lost in the world. Just kind of like drunk all the time. I mean, another thing is like, I think he sort of. They tried to inject as much of the idea of alcoholism as they could, because in the original movie it's not very present. But I guess again in the book it's like a big deal, and like of Danny being like, all right, I don't want to become my father and become like an alcoholic and like this evil like how Jack was, and he even like gives a shout out to Jack in one of the scenes. So it was like definitely an important part of the plot, and Danny was an interesting character in the movie. It seems like an actual realistic kind of expansion of what he was in the original movie. But just for the most part, I think like that was a good idea to bring the alcoholism in, because you didn't want it to not be explored at all. Because Jack in the original movie is sort of an alcoholic.
And I really like Ewan McGregor's acting actually when he was going to take. I think there's two scenes where he was going to try and take a sip, both in the with the fake Jack Nicholson and then in the hotel room or whatever.
Yeah,
I thought that
the
was
struggle.
a really good scene. Yeah, the way he acted that was. It was very. You felt that.
Yeah.
And another thing I really liked actually was the very final scene. It was the old woman in the tub, and they play that song in the original movie. I thought that was really cool. Like, because we're probably not going to need a third one of these, and if we do, it's probably not going to be good. It's just going to be a cash grab. And for the movie to kind of end itself with like a song from the first one, I think it was a really cool, nice little touch to give us a 1-2 punch instead of a trilogy. Because some movies only need two. I mean, some movies only need one. But I thought that was a nice little touch to use the same song.
Nice.
So, yeah.
I thought it was funny how the kids always would close the bathroom door because they about to go to work on this whatever ghost monster thing is.
Yeah,
that
it's
was
like, I got this. I
lock the door.
Yeah, that was funny. It's like, all right, I'm about to have to do something. And the person was just watching.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say for me, this movie's a 7.8. I really enjoy the movie, besides a couple of kind of pacing things. And what I was saying earlier about The Shining or movie, I think it's a better Shining sequel than it is film. Because if you didn't see The Shining, I don't see how you would like love this movie. I think you might like it, but it's like definitely not a movie you would probably love if you hadn't seen The Shining. But I do think it's a really good, kind of sequel to Shining. And it does, again, to do a sequel to a movie like directed by Stanley Kubrick, one of the most celebrated filmmakers ever, it can be an easy task. So, props to this movie for doing that. Props to Mike Flanagan, who seemed to like put his entire soul into this movie.
Yeah.
And that's awesome that you get to have directors do that.
I agree. I'm going to have to give it... I don't agree with the number because I don't remember what I gave The Shining, but I have to give it the same number. And you might not agree with that because you like The Shining more, but I felt that... I think that The Shining by itself, you could call it a film classic because all the stuff that it did, but as a story, I appreciate it more with the second part. And I wouldn't be able to appreciate the second part without having seen the first part. So I feel like they both should be ranked the
hand
same.
to hand. Okay,
Yeah.
So I'll find that out and I'll flash it above your
whatever that number was. It could be like a 7. I feel like if you're saying it's an 8.5, it's probably an 8.5.
Oh, you're saying I'm wrong? I'm 100% right.
Okay, very cool.
Yeah, that's what you
remember.
I'll trust
I remember this stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 8.7. And
what did you give The Shining?
I don't remember.
Probably a 9.
I'll flash that
I think
too.
you gave it like a 9.5.
I give it high. And
you didn't give it a 10. I gave it a 10.
No, I
You
definitely didn't
gave
give
it
it a 10 because I had faults with it. But I know I ranked this one under it only because I'm very hard on sequels, as you guys know. I mean, but I love when they do callbacks and stuff. This was an impossible task for me, just serving two masters, but I really enjoy it. I love the message of it. I love the best friend who was helping him out.
Yeah, he always plays that role too.
Yeah.
I really like that actor.
Cliff Curtis.
He always plays that role.
Yeah. Really good guy, really great actor, and I really I felt like it was a cool bond, you know, like they were there for. I mean, So I mean, I keep saying I would give it an 8.7. Solid.
Yeah, and then I'm sure I'm not going to be the first to say this, and I definitely won't be the last, but it is not lost on me that there is irony in a movie where everybody's doing like mind tricks on people. The same movie as Obi-Wan Kenobi. Think about how many times they tell him like, nope, go to sleep, kill yourself.
Yeah, that's right.
It's Obi-Wan who's like, don't buy death sticks and stuff.
Little do they know.
Yeah. People, there's going to be, little do they know that the true mind tricker himself. Yeah. There's going to be plenty of memes on that. But, the reason I don't think this movie is quite as good as The Shining is because A, Jack Nicholson, there's no performance in this movie as good as him. B, the cinematography in The Shining is better. I just think Shining is a better film. It's simple as that. This is a solid film, though.
Yeah. Okay. It's fair.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add. But I really enjoy this movie despite a couple of small things. So, you should go see this movie. It's a pretty interesting sequel. Let us know what you thought, how it compared to The Shining. And, like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.
Adios.